All right, we're here with Cam Spencer from the national championship winning Connecticut Huskies. How good does that still feel to hear that, Cam?
Feels pretty good. To set out and accomplish the goal that we set forth at the beginning of the year was a cool moment for us.
So, I've been like very clear publicly that I think you were one of my favorite people to watch in college basketball over the last decade. And I think that the reason for that is both like reasons that you show publicly on the court, but also like privately, like some of the things I know from talking to your coaching staff and everything. And I think that that's where I want to start. When I've talked to Connecticut's coaching staff, or your coaching staff at Connecticut, I have been told that you are the most like intentional person that they've been around in terms of preparation, in terms of just always being ready for every single practice, let alone every single game. Can you kind of explain that regimen to me? Can you kind of explain like what you do and what that process is like for you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think, how you practice is how you play. So, I try to bring the same mentality to practice as I do for the games. I think getting shots in early, getting all the treatment that you need to get ready for practice to, go act like it's a game 7 or, a national championship game is really how I try to approach it. And, so that when you get out to the real game, it's kind of automatic, as Coach Hurley would say. And you don't have to change anything from what you've been doing to prepare and practice.
So some of my favorite stories I've gotten about you, I've been told that like you would lovingly, not like seriously, like mess with the managers if they hadn't uploaded the practice tape onto your like phone or something like that before you got in the cold tub, because you are that person that literally wants to watch the practice tape from the practice you just did in the cold tub. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, we get done practice and then you have like 10, 15 minutes before you get in the cold tub. So, I'm always eager to go learn from it. And, if it wasn't uploaded, I might give them a little crap for it, but
yeah. And to be clear, like everybody around Connecticut, like loves you. Like, it's not like he's being an asshole. It's just like, no, like I want this. I want to be prepped. I want to be ready to go.
Yeah, it was good intention behind it. I'm sure I was an a-hole at times, but it was to help us win.
And then the other one is, your brother. For people who don't know, your brother is Pat Spencer, and Pat is currently on a 2-way with the Golden State Warriors. And I got told that in the summer that like you would literally spend like hours on the phone with Pat, like breaking down practice tape on like very specific things. Like, okay, this is my footwork on how I get around screens. This is my footwork on how, like, even like just in terms of like using your left foot if you're going to the left and like getting over the top of a screen. What is the best way for me to go about that? Like, even very minute specific details. In your mind, why are those minute specific details so important to who you are as a player?
Yeah, I think it's everything for me. I think that's why I watch a lot of film, and I'm lucky to have Pat, who's 4 years ahead of me. He's got a lot of basketball experience, and I wouldn't be the player I am today without all of his help. And he's been at the professional level for a while now, so he's seen things that maybe I haven't. And the good thing is he could watch our practices on the app, and he would point some things out to me just to try to help me, whether it's offense, defense, just a lot of those little details that contribute to having success on the basketball court are super important to me. And I think that's a big part of why I've grown so much as a player, is because of his help.
The kind of last thing here I have for you on, Pat and your family and everything is, Pat was obviously this like record-setting lacrosse player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were not like a wildly heavily recruited basketball player. Like, you ended up at Loyola, Maryland to start your career, and then you transfer up to Rutgers and then transfer to Connecticut. Were you like an awesome lacrosse player too? Like, is that a thing that happened, or, were you always kind of that level behind Pat? Like, what was it in high school for you that, kind of reduced your recruitment, and, were you an awesome guy at other sports? Like, what was the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up coming from Maryland. Lacrosse is the sport there, so we grew up playing all kinds of sports, and I played lacrosse all the way through high school. And I was a solid player. I wasn't as good as Pat. I'll give him that one for sure. But um, you
Yeah,
know,
not a bad thing not being as good as I think literally the best college lacrosse player of like all time, right? Like,
I'm a little biased, but yeah, I have his back all the way. So he was a heck of a lacrosse player, and obviously chasing the hoop dream now. But
yeah.
yeah, we grew up playing all kinds of sports, and I try to take some of those gritty things from the lacrosse field onto the basketball court as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love about you that I do think you take from the lacrosse court, and we'll kind of see it as we break down tape here, is it's the hand-eye coordination as much as anything. Like I think you have unbelievable hands more than anything. Like you get into passing lanes, like you are able to like dig down. Like there are a couple clips that I'll show where like you're digging down and like getting your hand like on the ball, right? Do you think that as much as anything, like playing lacrosse, like kind of helped that skill set with you particularly?
For sure. I think there's a certain level of like craftiness in the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah.
With the hand-eye coordination, with footwork. It's actually, pretty similar to basketball, as weirdly as it sounds, just because, there's a lot of two-man game.
Mm.
A lot of beat your man and being able to read a defense and see the rotations and make the right play off of that. So I think a lot of those things translate to the basketball court, and I try to use that to my advantage as an athlete.
So here's the other thing, though, that I love about you, and we'll talk about this as we get into the tape, right? Like, I think now we can kind of jump in and go from there. It's the emotion that you show on the court, right? Like, you are somebody that is very clearly highly competitive and somebody that really likes to play with the crowd a little bit and likes to get into action like that, right? So like this one here, you're an unbelievable offensive rebounder for your size. I think that shows. But then just like come over and look at this, like just the look in your eyes, like how excited you are, how pumped you are. Then this, like there's never backing down. Like Ben Gold comes and like bumps you right here. You guys are up like 30 on Marquette. And it's just like never back down, never anything. And then you're going to look at him and tell him to go look up at the scoreboard. What exactly was said there, Cam?
I don't know. I can't remember.
But it's that emotion. Like how do you modulate that emotion on the court? Because I think you do a really good job of, and your coaching staff tells me this too, but like you do a really good job of being in the moment, getting the crowd into it, understanding the crowd is a really important factor, and I'll talk about that in a second, but like also just like having this fun enjoyment on the court. How do you modulate that without it going like over the line? Because I can't really even remember a time this year where I felt like it went over the line.
Yeah, I mean, I love to win and hate to lose, so it's just kind of who I am as a person, and I'm a fiery competitor.
Yeah.
I'm not like you said, I won't back down from anybody, and I think it just comes out on the court genuinely. Games like that when you're winning, and it's I don't know. He gave me a little bump. You got to retaliate a little bit. So I love to win and hate to lose more than anything, and that's really why I try to show a lot of fire and intensity on the court with it.
When did that mentality kind of come about for you? Like that fiery competitiveness? Because like that's not something like you can't fake that, I feel like. So like when did that develop within you?
I think it's always been in me, but growing up with two brothers, we had a competitive household. I said Pat has 4 years on me. My younger brother's a couple years younger than I am. We were battling in whatever it was, basketball, lacrosse, golf, playing cards, like a lot of fights growing up. So, it's just kind of in our family and our DNA. And, I hated to lose, and I was doing a lot of losing because, 4 years is a lot when you're a kid. So, it just kind of created that edge in me. And that's just kind of how our family is.
So I have this theory, and this is now going to be fun because I asked Baylor Shireman about this too. I have a theory that every great shooter can also be a great golfer. So you said golf there. Are you good at golf?
I'm a solid golfer. I agree with that theory just because, there's hand-eye coordination. There's, just having a good feel, good muscle
Yeah.
memory kind of thing. So I would agree with you on that take.
Yeah. What kind of handicap are we talking?
I haven't played in a while, so I can't throw out a handicap. But I'd say when my brother and my dad and I get out in the summer, I'd probably be around like a 7 or so.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's going to get even better. Like once you get
Yeah,
around the NBA guys too. Like,
yeah. I've been focused on basketball, but when I get out there for a good amount in the summer, I can get after.
okay. So let's talk about like actual basketball here as we watch you like fist pump to the crowd again. So the thing I want to talk about first is obviously like just the way that your game builds off of your shooting ability. So for people who are unaware as we go into this, right? Cam this year, look, like was arguably the most effective shooter in all of college basketball. Took 170 catch and shoot opportunities, made 42% of those. Took, it looks like 122 jumpers off the dribble this year, including 63s. He made 47% of his threes off the dribble. And these weren't exactly, as you'll see once we get into the tape, like low degree of difficulty shots. Like he made 38% of his threes off of screens where like the movement is intricate. It is like very, very, very high level stuff because that's the way the Connecticut's offense operates. So like, for instance, in this set here, and I'll kind of let a few run through because, they're all kind of, going to blend together. So this one, you're going to come all the way around a couple of baseline screens. You're going to plant your feet and fire there. This one, you're going to come around again, like a cling in baseline screen. You flatten out kind of behind it there. This next one is against Illinois. You're going to kind of like come off of this pin down here after faking like a screen for your, for what was that, Caravan or whoever that was on the baseline. I kind of missed it, but you're going to come around, you're going to plant, you're going to fire. What is so impressive to me is your balance as you're going the other way away from the hoop. Like these are difficult shots to stop, get on balance, get everything going, flowing upward without it going backward, and being able to maintain that balance going into that shot. How did you go about developing that level of balance? And how did you go about improving this skill set as a movement shooter?
Yeah, I would say, I took a long time, a lot of practice and, coming into UConn, I knew how much movement was within the offense. And, I wanted to emphasize being able to be a better movement shooter and just being able to sprint full speed and maintain balance once I got to the shot. So, a lot of hard work. And, I think a lot of that is just, how hard you practice and how much emphasis you put on every rep that you're doing. I think a big part of it is your conditioning level. So, I pride myself on being super, super well conditioned. And I think to be a great movement shooter, you have to be because, you're using your legs so much to be able to be on balance once you get to the shot. It takes a lot of, good conditioning. So, that's kind of what I attribute it to.
Yeah, and for this one here, like the second one we saw against Purdue in the title game, right? The other thing that you do really well is the way that you read coming off of screens, right? You do an awesome job of understanding where the open space is. I feel like so this one, this could easily be you curling up here into all of this kind of open space, right?
Yeah.
Instead, you kind of flatten out back here behind Donovan. What went into your decision there to do that?
Yeah. If you can rewind it, like I'm always trying to almost set it up like I'm gonna curl it because I know that if he tried to shoot the gap and try to cheat the play a little bit, then I can always pop back and it'll probably be an uncontested three. So I try to make my angle to where it looks like I'm gonna curl, and then I for this one Steph's pretty close to me, so his man could jump to the ball if I do continue that path towards him. So for that one, I wanted to make it look like I was curling and then pop back for the three.
So at what point do you make that decision in your movement here? Like at what point when you're coming off of this, is that your choice to do that?
Usually, it starts with like the first couple steps that you take. Like once I realize that I'm going to, go to that wing for the shot, I want to, win those first two steps so that I have some separation from him. And when that happens, he'll usually most likely try to shoot the gap and, kind of make up ground because he's so far behind. And then that's kind of, opens up the pop back three.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really sharp. It's really good to kind of hear you like kind of thinking about that in real time and like processing all of this. And, I want to talk at length about your screening because I love how good you are as a screener. And that's going to come a little bit, maybe even in this next like set of clips here. But the off ball movement is just so sharp. You're so detail oriented in terms of how you go about attacking this. Like this is just like a sick little double screen. And then this one now you're attacking this closeout and you're getting all the way to the rim, right? Like this next one here is just absolutely ridiculous. Like I think you cover the entire offensive zone, it feels like on this one almost, where you see like Jalen Stewart kind of screening for you here with your man.
Yeah.
And then you kind of float into the corner. It feels like they have a bit of a miscommunication. On this one particularly, let's start with this one because these are two like very different clips, which I kind of didn't realize as I started talking about them. This one here, like what are you seeing as you kind of come around these screens?
So the original option is, Hassan's going to come off the ball screen coming toward me as I'm coming off a screen from Jalen. And, I recognize that he didn't use the screen. He tried to reject it and put his man in a tough spot. So, at the least, like as a shooter, I think you can draw so much attention. So at the least, I want to just make sure my man can't even, like, he's not even looking at the ball. So, just cause confusion with your movement that way. And, that'll make less help defenders for Hassan if he gets down in the paint or, maybe Sam rolls for a lob. But, Jalen did a great job of kind of moving his screen. And, I just kind of tried to play off of that and find the open space behind the defense there.
And at what point do you recognize that it feels like these two have kind of miscommunicated in terms of like having lost track of you on the backside here in the corner?
Yeah, once I see the second guy, that the bottom guy there, like he had no idea where I was. And, honestly, it might be a bad idea sometimes if Sam's going to roll. I might be, cutting right into where he would be catching the lob. But, I thought the space was so open there and Hassan's such a great passer that, he would find me behind the defense if I could find that area.
There's just so much open space here. Like this is,
I have to take it. So
yeah, you definitely have to take that one. But then coming back to this one, right? Like, so this is, we've, seen a lot of similar actions to this where you're running off of like dual pin downs and things like this. But at what point here do you decide to curl this instead of trying to take this shot that you very easily could have there?
Yeah, so a big part of that game was I remember the scout. Illinois chases everything. No matter what, they like to almost kind of make you curl into those mid-range shots, which I don't want to settle for. So, I thought the three might initially be open, but obviously he was trailing me pretty good. So, he had to kind of, I guess he was on my tail end there, and then I just felt that it was the right read to go attack that open space there in the paint and, try to get a floater out of it.
Yeah. And like, I love here to like, call out Samson Johnson, who I thought was just like really, really underrated as I went through all of these clips again, right? Yeah. Like the way he engages Coleman here, Coleman Hawkins on the backside for Illinois, like he makes it so that, okay, if Coleman knows that if he leaves and comes up to contest you, this is an automatic like put back dunk, even if you miss the shot. Right. Like he's just there. He's ready. He's engaged. Yeah. Like I think that was really, really sharp. And maybe even just talking about this a little bit more broadly, right? Like what, in your opinion, makes a great off ball mover? Because you are truly like a great off ball mover.
Yeah. I think, it's just having a good feel for the game, but, a lot of it is like I said, winning those first two steps and just getting, unattached from the defender and just causing confusion as a shooter. I think you can draw so much attention. Even if the play is not for you, the spacing is there for your teammates. And, I think that being an off ball shooter, like it just puts a lot of pressure on the defense, more than, just a regular spot up guy. So, I pride myself on that.
Yeah, I think that, every single, clip that we've watched so far, like it's just so sharp because like people will like talk about like, yeah, you guys run a ton of sets, right? You guys run a lot of, specific actions, but your coaching staff gives you guys a lot of freedom to make decisions based off of what the defense presents to you. And like this one against San Diego State here is just like the primary example, right? Like your primary read here is not to cut to the basket here. Like you're making a conscious decision in the moment based off of what you see and what's available to you to actually just make this cut and be wide open and very available, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I love the way that you move without the ball. Now, like, we're going to get into like you screening and moving, right? Like, I have like a very strong opinion in general that great screeners or great off ball movers and great shooters, a critical skill for them is screening for others because it creates that momentary separation. Would you agree with that, and why?
1,000%. I think that's an area that I try to pride myself on, just because, when you're setting screens as a shooter, your defender is usually trying to stay so attached to you that if you set a great screen and crack the other defender guarding your teammate, then like it'll probably be a wide open, cut or layup, in a lot of our actions. So, I think it's super important to use that as a strength as a shooter, because like I said, the defenders are always trying to stay so attached to you that they don't want to help off of you.
Yeah, I mean, like especially with someone like you, like legit 40% 3-point shooter, right? Like it creates such confusion if you're making that contact, and like it creates that momentary concern like in the mind of the defender that they're going to have to go and recover, right? And that you
Yeah,
have to make those extra steps, and once that concern enters the fold, it's just really hard, right? And like this one here, like Caravan is just like such a smart basketball player here too. Like just the way that he kind of screens, shields off your man after this is just so sharp, so smart.
for sure.
Uh, all of what you do off the ball is just like really intelligent and sharp. And I think that the most important thing is, I spoke about that word intentionality earlier. It all builds upon itself, right? Like everything that you do on the court builds upon itself in a way that like flows and connects with another thing. Have you been intentional in terms of kind of building that piece of your game? Like, it's not like you have to handle the ball a ton, although we're going to get into some stuff where I think you're a really impressive ball handler, but like everything that you do flows into a way that is going to scale upward into playing with better players as well. And, we've seen that throughout the course of your career as well, going from Loyola to Rutgers to Connecticut. Like having these off ball skills just allows you to scale upward very easily. I think even, you're a guy that, based off of what you're saying in terms of spacing, you'd be happy not touching the ball as long as you have two guys guarding you. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think that those are like the little things that impact winning. You know what I mean? Like, setting good screens and using yourself as a decoy, as a shooter. Like if you can just draw two, or, draw a lot of it, I think I'm very intentional about, and just try to be a well-rounded, player that can play with the ball or without the ball.
Yeah. Like this one here, I mean, you bring the ball up the court, and then, we're just going to start to get into just this, quick little double screen action for you to get into a double drag here with Donovan. And then you're going to, ghost this almost and get into the wing. Try to cause like a momentary switch there. Donovan comes and like sets a screen for you here. I'd imagine that like you have freedom here to either come and do like a pitch back if you want, or to kind of cut based on what you're reading.
Yeah, this one I think was jet reject. So I'm supposed to reject the screen, but obviously you want to always have the defender on their toes. So I make it look like I'm coming back for the ball just to get that little bit of separation and be able to go set a good screen. And then here, I think, the better the screen you set, then, the more open that you'll be, the more confusion that you'll cause. And, either you'll be open or your teammate will be open. So sometimes I set it like the Illinois one. I didn't set it just to, you got to mix it up and keep them honest. So, yeah.
Yeah, like this one, like this is a monster screen. Like Alex is wide open here. Like this is fantastic. I believe that's Cam Jones. Like Cam Jones has like no idea that Alex is there. Stevie Mitchell, you've just like completely obliterated him
Yeah.
on the screen. Like Alex is so open here. This is killer, and it just creates that second where like Cam has to literally turn his hips and like turn his entire body to get back behind you trailing. And Donovan became like a monster screener over the course of his time in Connecticut, especially over the course of, I think he got better as a screener throughout the year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Between him and Sam, I mean, I think they're as important as the shooter coming off the screen and making the shot. I think that's such an underrated part of the game is setting good screens and legal ones, obviously. But between him and Sam, they were unbelievable. To help me get open and all of my teammates throughout the year.
And then the last thing, that I think we're going to get into some of like the on-ball stuff next, but just your jumper in general. I love that you have this like very high, like load point here, and like you have a very high release as well. Did you like specifically develop that, or is that something that you just like kind of, as you grew up naturally kind of had as a shooting motion?
Yeah, I had a lower one, growing up because I had a push shot. I didn't get my legs involved too much. So, when you're young and all you want to do is shoot threes, you kind of train bad habits. But, as I worked on it, just naturally the set point got higher and higher. And to be honest, I like it. I think it's harder to block. I think
Definitely.
it's definitely better in the mid-range game. But, that's why I try to do a lot of my work early with my footwork. So that you can still have a quick release even with the higher set point.
Yeah, no, I think that, your pickups are awesome, right? Like, we're going to get into a couple of things where you end up pulling up here, but I mean, that's a really hard shot because you also really elevate into your shot. Like a lot of movement shooters, sometimes they'll take like a bit more of a set shot. Sometimes they'll elevate like you do. But the fact that you have that combined high release point in addition to the fact that you elevate into the shot, I think that, people will look at you and say that you're, 6'3", you're undersized, like whatever. But I actually think that functionally the way that you shoot the basketball like counteracts some of that size issue. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's a tougher shot to block. And I think if you have, the good footwork and good timing with your feet, then the combination of those two things make it a good shot. But I also think it helps me with a lot of pump fakes in the paint. Because it looks like you're going to shoot because it's such a higher release. That I think it definitely helped me with my pump fake as well.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk to you about the interior finishing here while we go, because last year you really finished well around the basket. Like you had, and we can kind of move into this now because I think that's what the next set of clips is. But like, look, it's not like you take a ton of shots around the basket, but you made 67% of your shots around the basket last year, which is like a big around the basket. Like that's a normal like percentage that you would expect to see, not from somebody like Donovan necessarily, who's like a super giant, but from, a normal like 6'9", 6'10" big. You were basically just as efficient around the rim as they were. So this one here, I mean, again, the quick gather is what immediately stands out to me, right? I love your patience in ball screens, and I do want to talk about that momentarily, but the finishing is what's so super impressive here. I love like just that little hang dribble, right? You freeze the big defender, you keep the man on your back, and then you have that quick gather to be able to get into the rim. How did you go about kind of developing those quick gathers?
Yeah. I think it's just watching a lot of film and practice, just trying to be crafty, guys like Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson. Like I watch a lot of their pace, when they go fast, when they slow it down, just some of their fakes and footwork when they get in the paint. So, here I just want to get the edge on the guard coming off the pick and roll. When the big steps up, obviously, he's probably going to want to go back to Donovan, because if not, then it's going to be a lob for a dunk. So just wanted to be patient, get him to go back with Donovan. And, I know I had the edge on my guy there, so I just had to be patient and then go for the layup.
And then how much are you reading this guy here? Because this guy just like never really makes himself available on a tag. So does that kind of give you a sense that this big is going to end up having to recover strongly onto Donovan?
Yeah, for Northwestern, the scout I remember was they like to tag off of that strong side, or off of the tag guy right there on Steph. So, I think it opened up a lot earlier in the game. We got a lot of quick layups because they hard headed, and we just hit the roller pretty quickly that they couldn't recover in time. So, even if he does tag on Donovan, he's got such a size advantage that it's not really going to affect him. That I know the big will eventually have to go back at some point. Otherwise, I'll throw it up to him.
Yeah, that makes sense. This one here again against Northwestern. You brought up the pump fakes, right? Like I think you threw out like 6 here in, within 2 seconds. So you come off of this screen. What are you seeing as soon as you take this little hang dribble to kind of, extend the defense out?
Yeah, that I'm just, giving myself a half second to read what the big's going to do. If he stays with me, then obviously I'm probably going to pick my dribble up and look for Donovan on the roll, or, if Boo stays in and tags, then I'll have Jalen, or, somebody else will be open. But just trying to give myself a half second to read what the big's going to do. Once he goes back, then, I try to keep the edge on my guy and put him in jail. I missed his body a little bit, but, I kept him behind me. And, I think you have a lot more options playing off of 2 than you do, putting up a floater or something. So just being patient once I get that deep and, making the right read.
Yeah. And, this is another example. I think that this is like the really, really good, like hostage dribble one that I grabbed. Like that's an awesome defender there, right? Like that's Lamont Butler. He was the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, right? Like an awesome, really, really high level defender. Or no, that might be Trammell. He's a little small to be. Yeah, that's Trammell. That's not Butler. He's too small to be Butler. But regardless, like I love your hostage dribble here, like that ability to keep your man like directly tied to your hip so that he can't get involved. How important is that hostage dribble for you and for players in this game?
I think it's huge. Especially once you get the edge on that pick and roll, it's really like a 2-on-1 situation. And, with Donovan and Sam, they were both great lob threats that, the big couldn't really step up to you. They had to worry about them. So,
Yep.
I think keeping your guy in jail and playing off of 2, then, you have a lot of options with pivots and fakes that, you should probably get a pretty good, efficient shot once you get down that deep. So, it's like the best move in the world because it's like a legal travel, I call it. So, you kind of switch pivot feet, but hey, they let it go. So, I like that move a lot.
I like it too. I mean, the thing that's really impressive to me around the basket for you is that you have a really good blend of below the rim finishes, right? Like you had 0 dunks this year. You can dunk, correct?
Yeah, yes, I can.
just confirming for the people. Cam Spencer can dunk.
Yeah.
But had 0 dunks this year. And I thought that it was just really, really impressive how you would mix and match 2-foot finishes and 1-foot finishes, right? You said that you prefer to go off of 2 feet because you have that balance, you have that sense of control over your body. And I think that that's a good way to think about it. But if the right opportunity presented itself, like you were always willing to go off of 1, and 2 of the clips we've seen already are you going off of 1, right? So how do you kind of read and mix and match and blend that 2-foot finishing versus 1-foot finishing whenever opportunities present themselves?
Yeah, I think it starts with like, being able to do both.
Yep.
Like a lot of same foot, same hand finishes are important to have. But it's just reading the defense once you get in the paint. I mean, depending on the situation, it requires a different kind of finish. I think I'd prefer to play off a 2 in the paint. Just like I said, you have more pivot options. You can pump fake and do some different things out of it. But, I'm very comfortable with same foot, same hand finishes. And, I think you just have to kind of read the defense once you get in there.
So this next one here, kind of off of a scramble play, you're going to get into a ball screen. And this is one of my favorite things that you do. You have this little Dirk fadeaway, this little Dirk one-legged fadeaway that you've got as like a counter in the mid-range if things really break down. So this one, late in the shot clock situation, obviously, I know that mid-range isn't necessarily the place where you want to live, although, kind of looking through the synergy numbers, off the dribble this year in the mid-range, you made 48.4%. So very effective mid-range scorer. This one here, as you're coming off of this screen, knowing it's a late shot clock situation, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah. I'm reading the defender and his momentum's coming towards me. So when that happens, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can to get around him. Once he turns his hips, I kind of have the advantage. And, when he does, or when I get that little bit of an edge, then, I try to just find his body with my shoulder because I have more leverage than him at that point. And, just try to get my shoulder into his chest and use that as, a way to just kind of get him going get his momentum going the other way. And I can just kind of step back and, I'm very comfortable with that, Dirk shot, as you would call it. But, yeah.
What do you call it? Because I know everybody has different terminology for this stuff. Yeah.
I would call it, Dirk shot for sure off the left leg. I like that. So, yeah.
When did you go about developing that one? Because that's a beautiful counter.
I don't know. I feel like I put more weight on my left foot anyway, like when I shoot a little bit. So, when I'm actually like my left leg is my strong leg. So, when it comes to those one-footed shots, I'm pretty comfortable. And I have some good strength off of that leg for the step backs. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite shots.
Yeah, it's a glorious counter. Like it's one of those things you can't live off of, but when you get into it and you make it, it's got to feel pretty sweet, right?
For sure.
So this one here, we're gonna come up. You're gonna take a ball screen from Donovan, and this is just again you being able to put defenders on your hips, and this is where everything that we've talked about in terms of you keeping defenders on your hip with that hostage dribble, you mentioning multiple times that the big has to commit strongly to you or commit strongly to Donovan, and they often committed to Donovan because he was so big, and Samson as well because he is so athletic. This one here, you just like make this absolutely miserable for Fletcher Lawyer. Like you put him through the absolute ringer. You eventually get Edie to contest here. So kind of take me through all of these moves that you're going to put on and what you're seeing here as you come off of this screen.
Yeah. So here, every pick and roll starts with, I think you got to win the edge as the guard over your defender. So get him trailing you and unattached. Once I do that, Edie's going to keep playing the drop coverage. So, I just want to be patient and try to keep Lawyer in jail there. He actually does a good job of getting back in front of me. So I didn't do a great job on the hostage dribble there, but at this point I knew he had one foul. So, I knew he wasn't going to be very physical as a defender, and I just wanted to keep getting as deep in the paint as I could. And like I said, he kind of backed up there because, early in the game, I didn't think he wanted to pick up his second foul. So I try to use that to my advantage. And once he backs up, I'm trying to get 100% shot here at this point. It's a 2-on-1. Just trying to get Edie to come try to block my shot and then dump it off for Donovan for the dunk.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really sharp. I love this little, obviously you snake it at first, and then once he recovers, this is just like a nasty little crossover here. And the thing I wanted to talk to you about is just like your poise in the middle of the court. Like you are very, very comfortable living in these tight, congested areas in a way that not many players are. And you do so without turning the ball over, which is something that can often be a very tricky, difficult thing. You averaged this season 3.6 assists versus only 1 turnover per game, despite the fact that you operated. Look, I don't know if you were a point guard necessarily. It's probably like a little bit, strong for what it was, but you guys had multiple ball handlers and you played almost as like a combo, I would say realistically, where you were on the ball and creating a real amount. How do you go about minimizing that turnover level whenever you operate in these tight, congested areas as often as you do?
Yeah, I think it starts with I hate turning the ball over. So I really do. I think that may be something from lacrosse, because when you turn it over in lacrosse, then they go down, and as an attackman, that's what I played. You only play offense really. So then you have to watch your team, play defense. And if they score, then, you feel like an idiot. So I think it starts with, how much emphasis or how much of an emphasis you put on, taking care of the ball. That's where it starts with me, because I just hate turning it over. But, in those areas, it's kind of one-on-one a lot of times, or maybe a 2-on-1 situation with the big. So I think just patience is the biggest key for me when I get in the middle of the floor with that ball.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you're around Zach right now in Chicago a little bit, I would imagine. How much shit have you given Zach for the national title game?
Zach's a great dude. He takes it well if I throw a little jab at him or a little trash talk at him. But we joke about some of these. Obviously I got him on the fake there, but I think minutes later he blocked one of mine. So it was like 1-to-1, but he takes it well, and obviously had a hell of a career. So a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, Zach, everyone, that comes in contact with Zach just like really likes Zach, obviously. So I say that in jest, but this one here, the first thing I want to call out here is I love how competitive you are on the glass. Like, we're absolutely going to spend some time talking about your rebounding and how good of a loose ball player you are. Where does that like competitiveness on the glass like kind of come from for you? Is it just like hating giving? I feel like you just hate giving up possession of the ball. Like, not in terms of like you personally, but your team. Like, you hate your team not having the ball.
Yeah. It's just a part of winning, man. Like, I hate losing. Like, it's the most sickening feeling in the world to me. It really is. So
you're such a good fit with Hurley and Luke Murray. Like,
I love it
in a real way.
Yeah, two peas in a pod. Like, those guys are, I have so much respect for them, and we're like the same people. But it's just, that's a part of winning. Like, honestly, when you play good defense for 25 seconds of the shot clock, and then somebody gets an offensive rebound, like, it can deflate you. So I try to use that as an advantage, and just, it gives you more confidence as a shooter too, like knowing that if you miss, we're going to get it back anyway. So I try to do that for my teammates as well, and just impact winning in different ways.
Yeah, and then this one, just a little drop off to Samson, right? This next one here, you're going to come off of a screen, pump fake. The reason I put this one on here is I think that you are really sharp and underrated when it comes to manipulating defenders with your eyes. So this one, you really use the threat of your jumper well, first and foremost. They kind of have to play at the level on some level once Donovan makes this much contact against your defender.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. Like, it looks to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, obviously, but it looks to me like you're looking in the corner here at Caravan. Yeah. And that's going to freeze this guy here. Is that kind of what's happening here? Kind of take me through this as you saw it with your own eyes on the court.
Yeah, 100%. So, having Alex there is great, because, Ledlam has to respect that if I pass it to Alex, he's going to knock that shot down a lot of the time. So, I try to just use my eyes to get him to freeze, like you said, just for a half a second. That way Donovan can keep that edge on the inside. And, he's so big that even if Ledlam does kind of step over, halfway, it's still probably going to be a layup or at least a foul. So, at that point, I'm just I'd rather get the 100% shot of the roll to the rim for the dunk. So, just try to use my eyes to freeze the defender.
Yeah, and like, this is a great pass, but like, it really helps having Donovan, who can, like, awesome hands, like, can really catch these balls. This is a perfect pass. Like, it's right where you want to put it, maybe just like a little bit further to his chest, but like, the fact that he can catch these one-handed and you can have confidence that he's going to catch these one-handed is a huge factor, I would imagine, for you too.
For sure. Yeah. Him and Sam, they would catch everything. So, as a passer, it gives you that much more confidence to throw some maybe off target or where you need to kind of to get that dunk.
Yeah, and then this one, I think that this might be later in the same game in the Big East tournament. You come off of a double drag here. What are we reading as you throw this lob up to Sam?
Yeah, so like I said, it starts with winning that edge off of the first pick and roll. So I want to get him unattached from me, and Sam's great at getting out of screen quickly, and he's the biggest lob threat in the world. You can throw that thing anywhere in the arena, and he'll go get it for you. So if the big steps up even a little bit, I'm looking to throw that lob right away, and the tag wasn't there quick enough, so
yeah,
just want to throw it up for him.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're choosing to high tag off of Alex as opposed to low tag off of Steph. Like, I think Steph will shoot at some point, but it's a weird choice to high tag off of Caravan as opposed to Steph. So, like, how much are you reading that? So it's a little bit of like a strange choice to me to, like, for instance, it looks like here that they're tagging with like a higher tag off of the wing with Ledlam as opposed to tagging off of Steph in the corner. Like, Alex is a 40% 3-point shooter. Steph is I think Steph's going to shoot at some point. Like, don't get me wrong, but like Steph is a, lower end 3-point shooter comparatively. Is this like a scout that you kind of knew going into the game that they were going to tag high if Ledlam was on the backside, or like, how are you reading the way that they're tagging this on the back end?
Yeah, I mean, right away, like when the big steps up, I'm really looking at the help side guy, just because
Yep.
he's the only one that can help in that situation. So once I see that Sam kind of has the edge there, I'm gonna throw it up to him because there's no one to really help on him.
Yeah, like, this guy being this far attached into the corner, like, this is such a big ask for Ledlam to like get all the way back here to be able to contest this in such a real way.
For sure. And I think he's got to foul him or it's going to be a dunk.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you just have to, like you said, put that anywhere, like
in the gym.
like,
man,
seriously, you have all of this. You can put that ball anywhere. Like, that's like, I think about like quarterbacks, and windows that they can throw into, right? Whenever you're watching a football game, like, this is a massive window for you to hit here.
Yeah, my thought is like, just don't hit the rim, but even he might go grab it and still finish it for me. That's the luxury of having Sam to throw it to.
Yeah. Oh man. So this one here, this is a fun one. This is you kind of coming off of some actions here, and then this is fun because it looks like it's going to kind of set up as an empty almost, where you have these screens, and because there's only one guy over here now with Tristan kind of filtering here, and you have this roller, KJ Adams, has to tag here, right? Or else, as you kind of mentioned, you can throw this ball anywhere in the gym to that guy and he's going to go up and get it. So as you come off of this screen, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to kind of string out Hunter for a second here. So as you come off of this, what are you reading?
Yeah, I think number one, it started with Hassan. If you can rewind it, like, he sets a good screen for me and get allows me to get the edge on my defender to where they have to switch, and now I got a little momentum going off of that screen. So credit to Hassan for that. And then Sam sets a great screen as well, and that's a part of winning because once he gets my man trailing, now Hunter has to step up, and it gives Sam that much more room for the lob. And if I were them, I probably would have had Furphy maybe tag a little and have KJ stay with Tristan because I know he had it going that game. But once I have that edge and I'm coming off, Hunter steps up, I'm thinking lob. But once I see KJ come in, then I know that my man Tristan is open for the three.
Yeah, I mean these are just like the really hard situations that I think you guys put defenses into, right? Because that probably goes against like so many of their principles, right? To have like Furphy step up here and help.
Yeah.
And it's just, I agree with you. Like in an ideal world, like that'd be amazing, right? If, Johnny, but Johnny's also a freshman. You've been around Johnny in Chicago. Like everybody, says how awesome of a kid he is. But like this is November freshman year of a kid here, and it goes totally against their defensive principles. Like that's what you guys did to teams. You know what I mean? Like you just made it really, really hard for them, right?
Yeah.
And this just ends up being like an awesome kick out for a 3 to Tristan Newton here. I think this next one is going to be you rebounding potentially. Oh no, this is a series that I want to get into. Just using the threat of your shot, right? Like you mentioned teams will come out and hard hedge you,
Yeah.
right? So this one, they come out, put 2 on the ball. Is this just like automatic for you as soon as they put like literally 2 on the ball like this? You're just looking for Samson like in that short roll area?
Yeah, for sure. And, we practice it a lot, like in 5-on-0, if you get 2 on the ball, get rid of it quickly. And Donovan and Sam were, so great out of the short roll that, once you get it to them, it's a 4-on-3 and, we're going to get an open look. So once he steps up, like I said, Sam catches everything. I actually, it was pretty quick, so I didn't see right cell there till the end, but, Sam had my back and, was able to catch and go finish it. So, credit to him.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Like this is a pinpoint pass. Like it's literally the only place it could be realistically, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't put like if you put this ball here, like you're putting Samson in like a really tough catching position. If you put it, over here, then Reitzel's probably getting a deflection, right? So I love that this ball was literally just like in the exact spot that I think it had to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was, it was basically like a perfect read and a perfect play. I mean, like you said, like maybe you could have hit Steph on the backside, but no, you threaded the needle, right? And then this one again, you mentioned Northwestern, they were going to hard hedge you coming off of screens, you felt like, and this is just Donovan just immediately getting all this wide open
Yeah.
space. I imagine this one's just like a pretty standard, simple read for you.
Yeah. In transition, I know they weren't set as a defense. And like I said, Northwestern, the scout was, they were gonna tag off of that strong side. So it was once they put 2 on the ball, I was thinking, hit Donovan for the roll and we'll get a dunk.
Yeah, and the other thing that you've mentioned the prep that you guys have all the time, like your coaching staff is just like ridiculous in terms of preparation. From what I know, I feel like you guys always were so ready to go to attack exactly like what a team's weaknesses were. Can you like kind of speak to the preparation that your staff kind of gave you guys in terms of the tools to succeed on the court?
Yeah, for sure. The best coaching staff in the country, hands down, in my opinion. How we just prepared for certain teams, and I feel like we always had a competitive edge between the scouts that our assistant coaches did, and just knowing what other teams' strengths and weaknesses were, and then the practices leading up to that, we worked on things. If they're hard hedging, we're working on hitting the short roll and playing out of that, cutting off of that, and I think they just did an unbelievable job of putting us in position to be successful, and we just had to go out and execute the game plan at a high level.
So again, just this one, using your body, using your frame. This is just like, instead of you hitting the roller, you hitting that like, shake man coming up from the corner to the wing. This is just you kind of passing in the flow of the offense after that little bump there, keep them in jail. And then you've got Hassan as a cutter here. When do you decide that the cutter is going to come available?
Yeah, I mean, once I got here, I knew that they were kind of staying home from what I saw. So, I wanted to keep him in jail. I knew Donovan was rolling, so I wanted to get that 2-on-1 kind of advantage. And then Hassan just makes a great read here. I mean, that was the best thing about our team. We just had guys that knew how to play. So, Shannon was ball watching, and Hassan just found the space, to go cut and get a layup.
Yeah, and this little retreat step here too is what I love. Like, I think a lot of guards, they kind of just continue to move forward, right? What
Yeah.
I like about you is you understand that like you can retreat to maintain the advantage in a lot of ways. Like this little hostage dribble, we've talked about it throughout your tape, obviously, but like that, the willingness to go backward even there, I think, is something that speaks well to you, because it just is that extra little step in terms of the feel for the game that really just like kind of stands out immediately.
Yeah. And, I some of that is like Illinois. I knew that they were in a deep, deep drop coverage. So, I know once you get that edge on the guard, that the big's not really going to try to steal the ball at all. So, like I said, just be patient when you get in there and try to get that 2-on-1 situation. And then Hassan made a great read there that keep your head up and find the open man.
Yep. And then this one I think might be the final pass. This is just like passing in the run of play, right? Let's just like kind of, I'll just give you the floor here. What do you see here as you catch this?
Yeah. I think just playing off of the shot, using my eyes to make it look like I'm going to shoot, and, trying to get his momentum to come towards me like it was. And, I can get a little bit of an edge to where the defender, has to help. And once you put 2 on the ball, you just got to find the open man. And, Steph found the open area and was able to get a dunk. So just had to find him.
So on this, like here, I'd imagine that you're basically just looking at Ladie and seeing which direction he goes.
Yeah, I knew he'd probably stay with Donovan, and I wanted to get the ball to Steph. So, like I said, once you get 2 on the ball, I was just reading Ladie at that point.
Yeah, like again, like speaking to your eye manipulation, like your eyes literally look like they're pointed here at Donovan. Like it's just super smart to be able to move Ladie over that way, knowing that you think he's going to stay with him anyway. And that's just going to give you this little scoop pass here. Yeah, like you are a very, I think, underrated passer in terms of the way that you think through the game on the court. And I think it's just going to translate exceptionally well to the next level. Making extra passes as well, like, the passes around the horn that like I didn't even put in here. Like I think that those are just super, super, smart and super intelligent. Everything flows well within your offensive game, which is what makes it really scalable, I think, to the next level.
Thank you.
And then on top of it, then we're going to get into just like rebounding, right? Like loose balls, steal, offensive rebound, whatever you want to call this, and then going to hunt the 3, like that's a backbreaker 5 minutes into the game. I was sitting courtside for this game, and it got to the point where you did so many little things on the court where I was like keeping a counter in my head. Like I felt like you had like 4 offensive rebounds. You had like 2 like floor burn, like loose ball gets. You had like a couple of steals. Like you just kind of did everything, the winning player does in this game against Alabama. So, as this ball comes off the glass here, just kind of take me through it from your perspective.
Yeah. I long shot, long rebound. So, it was a 3-point shot. I really wasn't in great position to get that first one, but, I just, go get in the middle when the shot goes up, and, it'll open up opportunities like that to go get the steal. Cause I knew he didn't know where I was at that point. Early in the game, like I said, I think offensive rebound and just doing the little thing to impact winning are so important to, get a lead and get your team feeling comfortable going into the game.
I think this might be the most separation you had from anybody in a half court set all year. Just Sears like decides to peel off onto Tristan, and it just leaves you a lot of space. I'd imagine that that's just what you're looking at whenever you decide to just pull up and stop here.
Yeah, I mean, when I turned around, I knew no one was kind of near me, but I didn't think it was, that much. So, once I saw the space there, I was letting that thing fly.
On a shot like that, what do you think your percentage is?
I don't know. I try to make them all. So when I don't, I'm pretty pissed off, but I don't know what the percentage is.
Feels like 85 to me. Like feels like just like an obscene percentage.
Yeah, I wish it was 100.
So this one here, I kind of want to talk about your defense, because I'm not sure if people recognize that over the course of the last 2 years, in two, I don't know, you can answer this question for me. I would not say that they were drastically different schemes, but different schemes and different teaching styles, different coaching styles. Two top 5 defenses that you were a part of, according to Ken Palm, over the course of the last 2 years in different situations, let's call it. How, how you are an undersized player by NBA standards, let's say, even, by college standards, you're not an enormous player. How do you go about being an impactful defender? Because you undoubtedly are an impactful defender, despite, some limitations that you have on that end.
Yeah, I would credit a lot to just my preparation and focus as a competitor. Like, I like to make every shot, but it really pisses me off when somebody scores on you. I think you have to take that pretty personally. So,
Yeah.
for me, like that's where it really starts, is just having the competitive nature to, not let your guys score, but then, just I think a lot of the preparation that I do before the game, just knowing the scout to an elite level, knowing somebody's strengths and weaknesses, who you can help off of, what kind of moves people like to go to late in the shot clock, just the little details of the game. I think they give you that much more of an advantage on the defensive end. So, that's kind of what I credit it to.
Yeah. So this one, I put this one on here because, not a slow guy you're going up against, kind of puts multiple moves on you, makes you open your hips a couple of times, and you stay attached, you stay physical. And this is one of your 10 blocks on the year.
Yeah.
Not a small number for, a guy that, isn't going to blow anybody away at the combine and is 6'3", right? Like I think that speaks to your hand-eye coordination, and it speaks to your toughness and your, willingness to get your chest in there, and your timing and your hand-eye coordination, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, you just read the game. Like he's coming at me full speed. He's probably not going to shoot. He wasn't a great shooter to begin with, so I knew he'd probably try to attack me off the dribble, and just staying strong there with your chest and using your hand to get a hand on the ball and get a block shot, and then go down and have a good transition. Good transition on offense.
So then this one here, I just love how available you are. Like, you are very clearly completely engaged in the possession. You're watching the ball. You know where your man is. You're sitting here just in that little space, right? Like, you're ready to tag if Donovan doesn't get all the way back. Like, it's clear to me that, like, you're watching Donovan and you're available there if necessary to kind of try and dig down into his handle, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then, ends up being a drive. They do kick it down to him, and there you are.
Yeah, I think it starts with the scout, like, knowing who you're guarding, and he wasn't a great shooter, so I knew that I could help off of him. You got to know how the game's going for certain players too. Like, I knew Boo, was their engine. He's gonna try to get it going down a lot of points in the second half. So, once Donovan stepped up, I wanted to go help him, and when the big man gets it here, I try to just time the dribble, when the ball is going down, taking a, stab at the ball and trying to go get a steal.
So my last question for you here would be, or my last set of questions here is just, you are going to be a guy that's smaller and doesn't have like crazy athleticism by NBA standards, right? So how do you go about counteracting that in different matchups that you might be presented?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always being in a great stance on the defensive end, whether you're on the ball or off the ball. I think that's what it starts with, just being ready on that side of the floor, and just having just those little details of the game on that side. And then I try to use that as an advantage almost. Like, if people don't think I'm the quickest guy, that's fine. If I don't move as well laterally as somebody, I almost use it as an advantage to be that much more prepared, know the scout that much more, know players' strengths and weaknesses, know what they're trying to accomplish on offense, and different actions that they're running. So, in a way, I think it's kind of an advantage for me, because, I have to prepare that much more, and I think it helps me with the details of the game that much more.
All right, last couple of things here. So who was the best player you played against this season?
Somebody on UConn. I'm not giving anybody respect outside of UConn. So
I knew that was. I had a vague feeling that you were going to go there.
I roll with my guys. That's it.
I love it. What is your favorite sports movie of all time?
It's got to be Coach Carter. Yeah, Coach Carter. I mean, we watched that in our van. You know, we could play a movie. We probably watched that 1,000 times, so we can quote it. You know, the whole way through.
Second player to say Coach Carter out of these that I've done. It's a big. I feel like it is like a big, like, mid-20s, early 20s, like generational movie. It feels like.
That's a family favorite for us. So, who else said Coach Carter?
I can't remember. It might have been. It was either Sar or Bobby Clintman. I can't remember. It was one of the two. It might have been Sar, I think.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a real good one. Cam, I'm really excited to see what becomes of you in the NBA draft here in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a really, really exciting night for you. And I loved watching you play. I'm really excited to see you play in the NBA, obviously, but like truly, I loved watching you play basketball in Connecticut. I loved watching you play at Rutgers. Like, it was a fantastic experience. So thank you for that. But, anything else about you that you want to kind of impart to the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, nothing really. Number one, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate your time. I could watch film all day. It's so much fun to me. So, I like just going through the details of the game, and appreciate you having me on. But I'm just somebody who loves to win and hate to lose. Like, like I said, losing is the most sickening feeling in the world. So, I'm just a competitor at heart, and somebody who's always gonna go after it 110% and give it everything he has.
I think that's the greatest way possible to end it. Thanks, Cam. I appreciate your time. And we'll be back with another one of these episodes of Film Room here coming soon.
Awesome. Appreciate you.